All right, this is the bolt housing here. To get it apart, I've already had this one apart and then put it back together, so it's probably going to come apart pretty easy, but I found you just squeeze it both ways here, and then this bottom piece, I'm trying to do it one-handed, this bottom piece basically flips right off like such. That's that. There's a spring inside this firing pin pushing it back, and when you open that top flap up, or I should say bottom side flap up, like this, the spring's going to want to shoot the firing pin out on you. You just kind of got to watch for that. Give it a little turn to the side, and that'll come right off, and that's that. I filmed this after a rebuild, but figured I may as well film it and put it at the start. Firing pin comes out. This is the bottom side of the bolt housing. I don't know the real terminology. When you want to pull that pin, what you got to do is look in this hole, and you can see it right there. That's the other side of the pin. Right? That's the top flat. There's the other side. It's shaped on the top the same way that it's shaped essentially on the bottom. So you can see it's got a beveled outside edge, and it has a flat top. It's very similar. It has a beveled outside edge. There's your flat top, and there's your other bevel, right? So then you know you're centered there. All you've got to do literally is take something and push it downwards. Now, word of warning, there is a high tension, like a high powered or super compressed spring that sits in between the bottom side of this and the back side of the bolt face. So when you push that down, when you get it lined up and you push it down, what's going to happen is the spring tension is going to try to, it's going to be pushing against that. So it's going to kind of jam up on an angle or whatever. When you finally get it out, force it out, the spring may want to go flying. And not only is there a spring, but there's a flat face washer that your firing pin goes through. Don't know if you'll be able to see it because my lighting is so crappy, but it's in there. Yeah, see that hole? Whoops, that hole is obviously where your firing pin goes through. So when you're looking down there, you're looking at the side of the bolt. You're looking through a hole that's drilled through that. No, I know it's not called a bolt, but you're looking through a hole that's drilled through this pin here that the firing pin can run through, and then all this whole section here is full of a spring under a lot of pressure with a flat face washer that sits on the top side right here, okay? So just a little heads up, when you pull this apart, it's going to want to go pling and fly all over. Also, at that point, once the spring is out, your extractor then will be free, and it could easily fall out on you and go missing. So just watch for that, because the spring is the only thing really holding it in. All right, this video is nothing fancy. I was looking on how to disassemble my bolt for my Winchester Defender 12-gauge shotgun. It's an older model. So my extractor was not really moving all that good, so I wanted to take it apart, and like an idiot, I went ahead and did it. And so, learning experience. But anyway, I got bad lighting in here. I've given this a bit of a wipe and everything. I cleaned the extractor off. It's looking all right. So basically it sits inside the bolt like this. This spring here, it will insert. This washer here will sit flat on top of the back side of that spring. After I compress that spring, I'm going to have to wrestle with this piece here. And it's worth noting that the long side faces the bottom of the bolt. So your extractor sits towards the ejection port. So I would consider this the bottom of the bolt. So you can see the hole that is more towards the top. That's going to go in. But and then that hole in the center is where the firing pin will slide through the whole assembly and I'll be able to punch out the port on the face of the bolt. So yeah, so after I wrestle with that, I gotta get this this firing pin with this spring in there, and then after that, and it's also worth noting that I don't know the real like proper name for this, but I'm just gonna call it a carrier. I don't know, or a housing. I have to get this spring and this washer and everything installed while this is sitting inside of the housing, like such. Sorry, I'm trying to work one-handed here. So yeah, it's gonna be a real treat because I don't actually have any of the proper tools. And so yeah, wish me luck. Okay, so that actually went a lot smoother than I anticipated. I had to make a custom tool for it because I don't have, you know, proper gunsmithing tools or proper area setup. So I took an old flat, like a slotted flat-headed screwdriver. I cut the end off so it was perfectly square and flat at the bottom. And then I took it to my grinder and I flattened the inside, you can see. So the reason I did that is because I had to be able to, let me see if I can just show you here. I set the bolt on the edge of my bench like such, and I essentially had to use this flattened tool here to insert and push the spring down below the point where this pin goes through. But because I had flattened the side, it had allowed some room for the pin to seat partially to get partway through the hole. So it worked out pretty good, pretty stoked, because I was kind of stressed about all this because I didn't expect it to come and blow apart in my hand like this. So yeah, that's an idea for y'all if you're a backyard mechanic and you don't have the right tools. You can use that, okay? One last detail here I wanted to mention. When you slip this this piece in here, you know, it's got a hole for the firing pin to travel through, and you really got to make sure that everything is lined up nicely. I'm going to try to show you what I mean, like that. I found when I slipped it in, it was tilted just slightly to the side. So I have a tapered piece from another gun cleaning kit that I used right here, and all I did was, because it's tapered, I inserted it this way and just gently tapped it down towards the firing pin hole, and yeah, and that straightened it out for me. Worked out pretty good, pretty happy with it, and now I'm just going to assemble, put the spring on the firing pin, assemble the firing pin, and then get the bottom flat put back on. Sorry about the crappy quality. I mean, I'm, you know, not a cameraman. All right, there's your pump. See the grooves, just like such. Pinch both sides and then insert it.